We've been doing off-season outlooks for all the teams that aren't currently in the NBA playoffs, and one of the teams that got eliminated in the first round were the Phoenix Suns. So we're going to take a look about them. Mat Ishbia, the owner there, has already made it clear that Devin Booker will not be traded. The question is will the Phoenix Suns be forced to make a move, a big swing trade, even though Mat Ishbia does not want to? We'll talk a little bit about that and how the Phoenix Suns can build off what was a surprisingly good season overall, in my opinion. We're talking about all that plus more right after this.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. I'm the host there, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all, and we're going to start off here. Mat Ishbia has shut down any trade noise that could be possibly surrounding Devin Booker in regards to this. Now, this time last year, I was actually in a completely different position. I thought that the Phoenix Suns should completely rebuild their team from top to bottom. I thought that at that time, they should have been looking to trade not only Kevin Durant, but also Devin Booker and completely reset that franchise. But after a trade of Kevin Durant to the Phoenix Suns and a team that just kind of was structured better, the Phoenix Suns had a much better season than I was to give them, that I expected coming into this year. They were one of the most fun teams to watch, in my opinion, on League Pass. They won 45 games last year, won 45 and 37 in that time. And Devin Booker, for what it's worth, had himself a really good season. 26 points. He was ninth in the league in scoring, 3.9 rebounds, 6 assists. He did that on 45% shooting from the field as well, which was a really solid season, and 33% from three, which honestly was one of his worst shooting seasons in his career. The last two seasons, Devin Booker shot 33% each of the last two seasons from three, but Devin Booker is a scorer. He's not just a three-point shooter, so take that for what you will. But looking at this situation, there were some that were questioning if the Phoenix Suns could go the route of trading Devin Booker, and I'll say this, Mat Ishbia has made it very, 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 very clear that they are not going to be trading Devin Booker at all, and many people think that that's the right move. Mat Ishbia is saying this, Devin Booker is going to be here. Devin Booker is going to lead us to a championship here in Phoenix. That's what he's going to do, and we're going to build the right team around him. He's going to get better, just like I'm going to get better, just like everyone is going to get better at our organization. Devin Booker is who we want here, and he's great for the city, great for the community, and I'll ride into the fire with Devin Booker, and I'll do it proudly, and we'll go anytime. He's going to have my back, and I'm going to have his back, and Devin Booker is our guy. So listen, that's a complete shutdown of any trade speculation for when it comes down to it. And, I think when it comes down to it, like Mat Ishbia felt like he had to make that statement saying this. Sometimes I like to respond and sometimes I don't because it's ridiculous. But Devin Booker is not getting traded. Devin Booker is our franchise player. And like I said, we're going to win a championship here with Devin Booker. So, he has a glowing, support there from the ownership. And so Devin Booker at 29 years old, it seems like he's not going anywhere anytime soon when it comes to his career with the Phoenix Suns. Now, people are going to have different reactions in regards to that. Should they be more open if it meant improving the team, stuff like that? But I think at this point, the Phoenix Suns are choosing continuity. And seems like they believe in the chemistry, they believe in culture, and they believe in internal growth here in Phoenix, or they're in Phoenix. And so therefore, they're looking at this situation and saying, hey, we're not necessarily going to make a big move, right? And so, while we'll talk about the Aaron Gordon and the trade rumors around that one, Ishbia also said this on Twitter. This summer, we're going to focus on continuity. I believe this team is good enough to compete as long as we have continuity. Our continuity is going to be a big positive for us. We're always looking for ways to improve the roster, but right now, I think our emphasis on continuity is on the player development. So, what does that mean for a Phoenix Suns team that won 45 games this year, had a disappointing performance in the playoffs, but it depends on the frame of mind that you have in regard to it. Like I said, listen, the Phoenix Suns are well ahead of where I thought they would be this season after a Kevin Durant trade. And I think the Suns are a great example of why just throwing stars together doesn't always make it work, right? And as fans, there are a lot of times where fans think just go out there and get another star, add another star to it. And it just didn't work out in Phoenix with Kevin Durant. They and it is what it is there. That's why fit always does matter for a team when you're building. It matters wholeheartedly. You have to have fit, and you have to have that right along with anything else. So you have Devin Booker, who's locked in until he has a player option in 2029, 30 season at the end of that season, which he's slated to make about $68 million in that season. He's making $57 next season. You got Jalen Green that's making $36 million there. Dillon Brooks, who's making 20. He's on an expiring deal next year as well. Grayson Allen's there for 2 more years at 18 and 19 million over the next 2 years. And then Royce O'Neal with 10 million. That's the only people right now the Phoenix Suns have making double-digit money on their books. That's it, right? And so now they got to figure some things out in regards to that. We'll get into more of the offseason outlook for the Phoenix Suns here in a second. But what Mat Ishbia is basically saying here is that, hey, we're choosing continuity over anything. And as we bet on internal development as well, we'll improve the roster over time as that happens. But right now, our bet is using the continuity that we have, that we built and that we saw with the solid roster last year, and trying to build off of that internally and see where we can go in regards to that. Now, that does not stop the rumors. The Phoenix Suns are in rumors, and this popped up for Aaron Gordon specifically, and we're going to talk a little bit about that because there's no doubt that the Phoenix Suns lack some size, and they can use some big depth, some power forward depth as well, right? And with now the Denver Nuggets who got eliminated in the first round, the Aaron Gordon trade, would that be possible for the Phoenix Suns? And I think they have the if they wanted to make the trade, they could. And some people are going to ask, well, Haize, why would the Denver Nuggets trade Aaron Gordon? Well, they're disappointing exit in the playoffs after a 54-win season. They've already kind of signaled that major moves could be coming. If they want to keep Peyton Watson, they're going to have to make some moves there anyway, right? Whether it's Cam Johnson, whether it's Aaron Gordon, whether it's both, right? They're going to have to make some moves there. Aaron Gordon is probably the player that will probably get the most interest in anything back in the trade. That's just the reality of it, right? Now, if the Phoenix Suns are the team that's getting there, what could they offer back? And it's not like the Phoenix Suns have a ton of draft capital that they can trade either, right? Their first round pick of this year is going to Memphis. Next year, their first round pick, I believe, is going to Cleveland, if I'm not mistaken, or they're getting Cleveland's pick, I think is what it is. The Phoenix Suns get Cleveland's pick next year, and then their own pick is going to Houston. That's what it is. So they're going to get Cleveland's pick next year. They go to Houston. It is what it is there. They have the least favorable of those picks. So, right now, Portland's, their draft capital isn't great, right? Even in trading Kevin Durant to the Houston Rockets, they didn't really get any of their own first-round picks back. They got Jalen Green for that back. So Aaron Gordon would offer a player that can make some sense for them, that is already a player that's used to being an ultimate role player for that Denver Nuggets team and for a championship caliber team. 16 points, 5.8 rebounds, 49% shooting from the field, which is really good. And he also shot 38% from three as well last year, taking 4 threes per game. So Aaron Gordon is a player that already knows how to play off a high-usage player in Nikola Jokic. He knows how to fit in on a role with the team. So there's reasons why that would make some sense. But with this word from Mat Ishbia that they are, betting down on continuity, we'll see what happens with there. Now, the chemistry there is the question, right? So when you look at it, I think when you look at the future of the Phoenix Suns, like, I think that when you talk about that internal development, Rasheer Fleming, Oso Ighodaro, right? Kaman Malawach, right? These are players that they are trying and hoping that as they develop, it's going to raise the ceiling of the Phoenix Suns, right? So to compete a Aaron Gordon trade, right, you have to look at it like Jalen Green is going to have to be involved in that, because we know that, either Jalen Green or Dillon Brooks are going to have to be involved in that trade if they're going to want to do that. And these are players that contributed, in their ways to help to the 45 total. Now, I think Jalen Green, if the Suns do make an unexpected trade, Jalen Green is probably the one that's probably going to get moved, right? Because there's questions on his fit there, of course, with Dillon Brooks. The fact that, neither one is a true point guard. The Phoenix Suns still have the same issue that they even had during the Kevin Durant, as the roster overall makes more sense because they still don't have a point guard on the roster. And that's really, to me, rather than try to make a big swing trade, you got to try to find, a point guard there. Maybe a point guard that can even make it work. Now, I'm not saying you necessarily have to trade Jalen Green for that. He's 24 years old, 17.8 points per game. He only played in 32 games last year, though, and that's the lowest of his career. Before last season, he never played a season less than 67 games. So it's not like Jalen Green, while there have been some injuries, not like Jalen Green is at the point to where, like, he's playing 30, 40 games consistently or less than that. He played all 82 games 2 years prior to last season. So, this is a pretty durable player. Say what you will about his game, right? But he averaged 17.8 points per game, which was the second lowest total of his career. But again, playing a much different role there with the Phoenix Suns. He shot 42% from the field, 31% from three, which was the worst three-point shooting percentage of his career when that came down to it. Averaged 2.3 turnovers to 2.8 assists, which, highlights the fact that Jalen Green is not a point guard. We already knew that. That point guard experiment there in Phoenix, he wasn't going to ever be the point guard. I don't care what they said, right? So I think when you look at why the Phoenix Suns are a team that may not be looking to make a big move right away. They want to see how the young players that they added to this team continue to develop before they make that decision. Mark Williams is the decision that they have to make as well. We'll get more on that when we get into the overall offseason look like. But Oso Ighodaro, Kaman Malawach, Rasheer Fleming, these are very young players that I think still have tremendous upside when it comes down for it, especially Rasheer Fleming as a two-way player and has the size and stuff like that. I think has a really good upside as well, and they got him in the second round. So it makes sense why the Phoenix Suns right now with where they are aren't looking at making a huge acquisition or making another big-time move. But this is a team as well that has some space under the second tax apron, right? They are $22 million under the first tax apron, $35 million under the first tax apron next year, but they got a number of roster decisions that they need to make. When you look at the unrestricted free agents that they have, I mean, the Phoenix Suns only have a handful of players under contract. They're going to have like 5 or 6 open roster spots they're going to have to make a decision on. So that space under the first tax apron is going to get eaten into pretty quickly when it comes down to it. So what does that lead? So we know that Devin Booker is not going to be traded. They're betting on continuity, chemistry, and internal development. And while there are rumors around them possibly trading for Aaron Gordon, it doesn't really match up with what Mat Ishbia is saying about what their goals are this year. So let's take a step back. Let's look at the overall offseason outlook for the Phoenix Suns. So into the 2026 offseason, they have $185 million in projected payroll. That's for 11 players, right? It has them near the luxury tax line, but again, not over the first or second tax apron. They have players in Devin Booker at $57 million, but they also have a $19 million cap hit on Bradley Beal as they waived him, right? And so right now, they sit in a position where they have a high payroll, but they still have a little bit of cap flexibility when it comes down to it. But $23.2 million in dead money between Bill and EJ Liddell and other players that they've waived. It puts a little bit of a cap space on that, but they still have that. The big contracts, Devin Booker at 57, Jalen Green at 36 million, Grayson Allen at 18, Dillon Brooks at 21. Those are the high-end contracts that they have on that roster. So when you look at it, right, they're not restricted by second tax apron rules, right? They do have access to their mid-level exception, which is really good. And I do think they can manage to create a little bit more space by letting players like Rosa or Neal walk away. So when you look at it, I think the focus on them has to be, rather than huge risky moves, again, adding in what Mat Ishbia said, it has to be building off the grit and the successful season that they had. So betting bigger is the thing that they want to have there. Well, getting bigger is the thing that they absolutely have to do, right? So I understand the Aaron Gordon thing. Find ways to get a little bit bigger naturally when it comes down to that one. I think when you look at, they have a key decision to make on Mark Williams in restricted free agency. He is a strong candidate for a sign and trade, considering all the things that are going on there. I don't know if they saw enough from Kaman Malawach to be confident in him stepping into a full-time center role, but we'll see. The Suns also do not own their own 2026 first-round pick due to previous trades, so they don't have a chance to really add the cheap, flexible, high-end talent in the draft. So I think when you look at this, if the Phoenix Suns are going to make moves, and I'm not saying the big kind of acquisition moves like for another star, but if they're going to make some Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, Jalen Green, if they decide to do that, we'll see. But they are betting on the core and they're betting on continuity. And that's what it said in regards to from Mat Ishbia. They're building off of the culture that they set there. And part of that is Dillon Brooks as well, right? So patience, progression, responsibility. That is really what you're looking at for this offseason for the Phoenix Suns. And it could be one where they make strategic moves, but not the big time swings. I would be interested to see if the Phoenix Suns are a team that gets involved in Isaiah Hartenstein if he is made available by the OKC Thunder before they make a decision on whether they're going to, cut his contract or not to stay under the luxury tax or not, which is the thing that I think everybody's kind of looking at for because, if the OKC Thunder do decide to move off of Isaiah Hartenstein's deal, it means that, they be coming off a contract that's $28.5 million. Some teams could be willing to take on that money and create a trade exception. The Oklahoma City Thunder right now are slated to be $28 million over the second tax apron. Cutting that contract of Isaiah Hartenstein for $28.5 million gets them under that alone. That's why a lot of people are talking about the potential of that happening. And I think the Phoenix Suns should be one of those teams, if it does happen, that come calling for Isaiah Hartenstein if it ends up being the case. Now, they only have a mid-level exception to offer, but hey, maybe they can do something in regards to that. We'll see, right? So that's really the outlook for the Phoenix Suns. It's going to be probably more of a straightforward, not a big swing offseason. And as they look to bet on that internal development, see what comes out of that. And then the next offseason is where, at the trade deadlines, where they can decide based off where they are. We know in the league, especially in the Western Conference, every year you don't improve, technically you get worse because teams in the Western Conference are going to be very aggressive, especially with OKC and the Spurs and what they have done with their rosters and how they shape up to have a future there. So we'll see what the Phoenix Suns do in regards to that. Let me know what you guys think down below, though. Hearing this from Mat Ishbia, the fact that they aren't looking to make big moves, Devin Booker's not available, do you think their mind and hearts are in the right place, or do you think they need to have a little bit more flexibility in regards to that? Could the Suns be wrong in regards to that as Devin Booker's prime is he's 29, as soon as you flip into 30, the thing could start ticking down in regards to that, and they could have to make a tough decision. But let me know what you guys think. Should the Phoenix Suns run it back? Should they trade for Aaron Gordon? Should they make a big swing overall? Let me know what you guys think in regards to that. Guys, make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. Hit that notification bell if you never want to miss an episode. You can follow us at NBA Central Pod. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the #1 spot for everything basketball related, and I'll catch you guys the next time I feel like making a video. Probably tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
Been a presentation of the Breaks Media.